Did you know the screen you're looking at right now is blasting light directly into your eyes? For a few minutes, it's fine, but for hours, it can lead to eye strain, headaches, and even disrupt your sleep. But what if there was a screen that was as comfortable to read as paper? A screen that didn't glow, but reflected light, just like the page of a book. Well, there is. It's called electronic paper, or e-ink, and the story of how it went from a wild idea in a university lab to the screen in your favorite e-reader is more fascinating than you might think. It's a story of accidental discoveries, brilliant insights, and a relentless drive to change the way we read. So, grab a cup of coffee, get comfortable, and let's dive into the incredible journey of e-ink. Our story begins in the mid-1990s, not in a massive corporate lab, but at the world-renowned MIT Media Lab. This is where an undergraduate student named J.D. Albert was working for Professor Joseph Jacobson. Jacobson was a brilliant physicist with a big idea. He envisioned a book with a single electronic page that could display the text of any book you wanted. No more lugging around heavy textbooks or running out of shelf space. It was a revolutionary concept, but there was one huge problem. The technology to make it happen simply didn't exist. At the time, LCD screens, like the one on your laptop or old digital watch, were the standard, but they were power-hungry, hard to read in direct sunlight, and caused significant eye strain over long periods. Jacobson knew he needed something entirely new, something that mimicked the properties of real paper. The initial idea was to create tiny, microscopic spheres, each one half black and half white, like a miniature yin-yang symbol. These tiny balls would be suspended in a clear fluid between two sheets of plastic. By applying an electric field, they could be rotated to show either their white side or their black side, forming letters and images. It was an elegant concept, but making these two-tone spheres was proving to be incredibly difficult. The manufacturing process was complex and expensive, and the results were inconsistent. The team was getting frustrated. The dream of the one-page book seemed to be slipping away. It was a classic case of a brilliant idea hitting a real-world manufacturing wall. They were stuck. Then came the breakthrough, and like many great scientific discoveries, it happened completely by accident. One day, a frustrated J.D. Albert, tired of the difficult two-tone sphere approach, was just messing around in the lab. He took some white titanium dioxide particles, the same stuff used in sunscreen and white paint, and mixed them into a dyed dark-colored liquid. He then sandwiched this mixture between two pieces of conductive glass and applied a voltage. To his amazement, something magical happened. The white particles, which were naturally charged, moved. When he applied a positive voltage, the particles zipped to one electrode, revealing the dark dye underneath. When he reversed the voltage, they moved to the other side, making the surface appear white. He could create black and white pixels on demand. This was it. This was the moment everything changed. He hadn't created tiny rotating balls. He had created something much simpler and more effective, a system of moving charged particles. This new method was a game changer. Instead of manufacturing millions of complex two-tone spheres, they could now use simple, readily available materials. The core technology was born. Tiny microcapsules, each about the width of a human hair, filled with a clear fluid containing both positively charged white particles and negatively charged black particles. When a negative electric field is applied to the top, the white particles shoot to the surface, and the pixel appears white. Apply a positive field, and the black particles come to the top, making the pixel black. It was a simple, elegant solution. And the best part, once the particles were in place, they stayed there with almost no power. The screen only needed energy to change the image, not to maintain it. This is why an e-reader's battery can last for weeks, not hours. In 1997, Jacobson, Albert, and their team founded the E-Ink Corporation to bring this revolutionary technology to the world. With the core technology figured out, the next challenge was turning this lab experiment into a commercial product. The first applications weren't actually in e-readers. E-Ink's first major commercial success was in retail signage. Think of those electronic price tags you see in some stores. Their low power consumption and high visibility were perfect for this. They could be updated wirelessly from a central computer, saving employees countless hours of manually changing paper labels. This provided the company with crucial revenue and, more importantly, a chance to refine their manufacturing processes on a large scale. They were proving that e-ink was not just a cool science project. It was a viable commercial technology. This period was vital for building the foundation for their ultimate goal, changing the way we read books. The big moment for e-ink, the one that would make it a household name, arrived in 2007. This was the year Amazon launched its first-generation Kindle. It wasn't the first e-reader on the market, but it was the one that got everything right. It had a simple design, a huge library of books available for instant download, and most importantly, it featured a beautiful e-ink screen that was a joy to read. For the first time, reading a digital book felt like reading a real book. There was no glare, no backlight, and the text was crisp and clear, even in bright sunlight. The Kindle was an instant sensation, and e-ink was at the heart of its success. Suddenly, everyone was talking about electronic paper. The dream that started in an MIT lab was now in the hands of millions of readers around the world. The success of the Kindle was a massive turning point. It firmly established e-ink as the undisputed king of e-reader displays. The company's technology was so superior to any competitor that it created a virtual monopoly. Nearly every major e-reader that followed, from the Barnes & Noble Nook to the Kobo, used an e-ink screen. The company wasn't just a supplier, it was the enabler of an entire industry. They continuously innovated, improving the contrast, refresh rates, and resolution of their displays with each new generation. Like Pearl and Carta, they created a market and then completely dominated it through relentless improvement. This dominance gave them the resources and stability to think about what was next. After conquering the e-reader market, e-ink began looking for new frontiers. The next logical step was color. Early attempts at color e-ink, like the Triton generation, were interesting but had limitations. The colors were muted, and the refresh rate was slow. It was a good start, but it wasn't the vibrant experience people were used to from their phones and tablets. The real challenge was adding color without sacrificing the core benefits of e-ink, its low power consumption and paper-like readability. They needed to add a color filter array on top of the black and white microcapsules, which was a complex engineering problem. It took years of research and development, but they were determined to crack the code. The breakthrough in color came with the development of the Kaleido and later the Gallery 3 generations. These new technologies offered a much better color experience. Kaleido, used in many color e-readers today, uses a color filter array to produce 4,096 colors. It's great for things like charts, graphs, and comics. But the holy grail was Gallery 3. This advanced technology uses a more complex system with cyan, magenta, yellow, and white particles within each microcapsule, allowing it to produce over 50,000 colors with much greater saturation and without the need for a dimming color filter. The screen can even support pen input for color writing and doodling. While still not as fast or vibrant as an LCD, Gallery 3 represents a massive leap forward, opening the door for e-ink to be used in digital notebooks, textbooks, and even advertising displays where color is essential. Today, e-ink technology is everywhere, often in places you wouldn't expect. Beyond e-readers and price tags, it's being used for bus stop timetables that can be updated in real time, smart luggage tags that show your flight information, and even in architecture. Imagine a building whose facade could change color or display patterns depending on the time of day. E-ink's unique properties, ultra-low power, sunlight readability, and a unique static aesthetic make it suitable for a huge range of applications that were never possible with traditional displays. The company is even experimenting with foldable and flexible e-ink screens. The story that began with a simple desire for a better way to read is now branching out in countless exciting directions, continuing to redefine our relationship with digital information. It's a powerful reminder that sometimes, the most revolutionary ideas are the ones that look back to something simple, like the timeless comfort of ink on paper. Thanks for watching. If you found this story as fascinating as I did, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the technology that shapes our world. See you in the next one. Have you ever wondered how your e-reader screen works? It looks just like paper, doesn't flicker, and you can read it in bright sunlight? This amazing technology is called e-ink, and its story is a fascinating journey of innovation, perseverance, and a little bit of serendipity. It all started not in a high-tech corporate lab, but in a university dorm room. Our story begins in 1996 at the MIT Media Lab. Two undergraduates, J.D. Albert and Barrett Komeski, were tasked by their professor, the legendary Joseph Jacobson, with a challenge: create a low-power, reflective display that could mimic the appearance of ink on paper. Jacobson himself had been inspired by a simple thought while reading a book on the beach. Why couldn't an electronic display be as comfortable to read as paper, but with the ability to change its content? He envisioned an electronic book with a single rewritable page. Albert and Komeski, along with Jacobson and other students, spent countless hours experimenting. The breakthrough came when they decided to use microcapsules. Imagine millions of tiny transparent spheres, each no wider than a human hair. Inside each sphere, they placed a mixture of dark ink and white, positively charged titanium dioxide particles. It was a simple, yet brilliant concept. Here's how it worked. When a negative electrical charge was applied to the bottom of the screen, the white particles would be repelled and shoot to the top of the microcapsule, making that spot on the screen appear white. When a positive charge was applied, the white particles were pulled to the bottom, allowing the dark ink to become visible, creating a black dot. By controlling the charge across a grid of these microcapsules, they could form text and images. It was like a high-tech Etch-a-Sketch, but with much more precision. In 1997, after months of relentless work, they had a working prototype. It was a crude, small display, but it proved the concept worked. They filed for patents and, with Jacobson, founded the E-Ink Corporation. This was a pivotal moment. They weren't just academics anymore. They were entrepreneurs with a revolutionary technology on their hands. The world of displays, dominated by power-hungry LCDs, was about to be shaken up. The early years for the E-Ink Corporation were tough. They had a groundbreaking invention, but turning it into a mass-market product was a monumental challenge. They needed to perfect the manufacturing process, make the displays durable, and convince other companies to take a chance on this new, unproven technology. Their first major commercial product wasn't an e-reader, but a retail sign for the department store J.C. Penney in 2000. These were simple, low-power signs that could have their prices updated electronically. It was a small step, but it proved the technology was commercially viable. The real game changer, however, came in 2004. Sony released the Libre EBR100EP in Japan, the world's first commercial e-reader to use an e-ink display. It was a glimpse into the future of reading. It had a 6-inch screen, long battery life, and that signature paper-like readability. While the Libre wasn't a huge commercial success globally, it laid the groundwork and proved that a dedicated device for digital reading was a powerful idea. Then, in 2007, everything changed. Amazon, under the leadership of Jeff Bezos, who was a huge proponent of digital reading, launched the Kindle. The first Kindle was an odd-looking device with a quirky keyboard, but its e-ink screen and seamless integration with the Amazon bookstore made it an instant hit. It sold out in just 5.5 hours. The Kindle wasn't just a gadget, it was a service that made buying and reading digital books incredibly easy. The e-ink screen was the star of the show, providing a comfortable reading experience that LCD screens simply couldn't match. The success of the Kindle triggered a boom in the e-reader market. Companies like Barnes & Noble with their Nook and Kobo entered the fray, all using e-inks displays. E-Ink Corporation had effectively created a monopoly, not through aggressive tactics, but simply by having the best and, for a long time, the only technology for the job. They continued to innovate, developing higher resolution screens with built-in lighting like the Kindle Paperwhite's front light, and eventually, color ink displays. Color e-ink was the next frontier. The first versions, like e-ink Triton, were a bit muted compared to vibrant LCDs, but they were perfect for displaying charts, graphs, and subtle colors in textbooks or magazines without sacrificing the core benefits of low power and readability. The technology has continued to evolve with newer generations like Kaleido and Gallery 3, offering richer colors and faster refresh rates, making them suitable for digital note-takers, e-textbooks, and even some advertising displays. Today, e-ink technology is everywhere, often in places you might not expect. It's in smartwatches that can last for weeks on a single charge, on luggage tags that can be updated with your flight information, on digital shelf labels in supermarkets that save retailers millions in labor costs, and even in architecture, with concepts for building facades that can change their appearance. The core principles of being ultra-low power and easily readable in any light remain its greatest strengths. The story of e-ink is a testament to the power of a simple, elegant idea. It started with a professor's vision on a beach and was brought to life by the ingenuity of his students. From a small lab at MIT, it grew to dominate a market it created, fundamentally changing the way we read and interact with digital information. It's a reminder that the most impactful technologies are often the ones that seamlessly blend into our lives, making them just a little bit better, a little bit easier, and in the case of e-ink, a lot more readable. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this journey into the history of technology, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next video. See you next time.